Hi folks, time for another episode of High Value Writing in Action, and maybe we'll do your sentence next. We'll talk about that at the end. So many thanks to my former writing class participant for this example. She's working on writing a policy, and her audience will be applicants because it's an HR policy about people applying to jobs. And her goal is to ensure mutual understanding, right? That means we both walk out of reading the document thinking the same thing as each other. And secondly, to get applicants. She didn't want to drive people away by sounding too bureaucratic or by confusing people and making them give up on the application process. So here's what she had that had been in the documentation previously, and she wanted to kind of make this a little bit easier to understand and to make sure we both get the same takeaway from. Okay, so we have, it is required that all applications be uploaded to the HR website by 5 p.m. Pacific on April 30th. So it does a nice job of covering the bases. It almost sounds like a main point sentence, which I often suggest you use the 5 W's for. And we actually have a lot of that here. We can see when to do it, when to do it by, where to do it. We kind of know why. But the problem here is that it does sound a little bit bureaucratic, and it can be a little unclear. Are we talking about you, the applicant, needing to do something, or me, the HR department, needing to do something? And especially with a policy or procedure, one of the big goals is to come away knowing who's going to do what. So let's make sure we start these sentences with more indication of who's going to do different things. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what might be less than ideal in the current sentence that was handed down from past documentation. Well, you may already know this about me. I have sort of a pet peeve about long introductions. They delay information. One of our last sentences said, "This is to inform you that." And I said, well, we haven't learned anything after reading those words. And I would say the same thing for "it is." So if you find yourself writing, "it is notable," "it is important," "it is required," "it is crucial," probably don't want to start a sentence that way because A, we're 2 words in and we have no idea what we're talking about with that type of a sentence. And B, no one knows what "it" is, right? I would even call it a phantom doer. Who's doing stuff? I don't know. It looks like it's "it," but that's not really true. The "it" is not doing anything, making it kind of a phantom doer instead of actually the doer. And we do want to start a sentence with who's going to do something. So let's think about who we want to target this to. We do have some people who work in HR, and we do have some people who are applying. We can make either of these groups of people the central focus of the sentence, and they'll both be better than "it" because they'll be real live people, and that's a whole lot easier for a reader to understand or imagine. A little pen loss there, sorry. So 2 options, and it just depends. Who do you want to get the focus in your sentence, the applicants or the HR department? You can do either way. Let's start with the HR department. We could say, "We must receive your application by blah, blah, blah." So now I've kind of put HR in the front. I don't have to say, "oh, it is required," because the word "must" is conveying that. And it gets to the point quickly. It's got that who, what structure, who's doing something, what are they doing? And now we're getting that focus on HR. In fact, if we wanted to be more official, perhaps, we could change it to "HR must receive." And the more time we actually identify departments, the more formal we sound, the more official we sound. Often that's the goal. Other times, though, we prefer to sound more casual, inclusive, friendly, and less formal. And then we would opt for "we." So you'd probably want to make that choice based on the tone that you're going for, the formality level you're going for. Okay, so now we've sort of centered everything around us, HR, and already it's a lot clearer. I need your application by 5, right? That's about what we have here. The other option we might have would be to center the applicants and make them the most important people in the sentence by putting them in the front. And that's really would probably be phrased as "you." So you must upload your app to the HR website by 5. You might think to yourself, if I'm already reading it, I know it's already about me. How about if we get rid of that? Command verb, upload your document by 5. That would work great. The other option you would have is applicants must. And that would be fine as long as you know that person is going to self-identify as an applicant. I like to use you or just upload, do it, the command, because then we know the reader knows it's for them. But if we're not sure if an applicant could be reading it or someone on the interview panel could be reading it, then we might want to use this one to clarify. Okay, we talk a lot about verbs on this channel, right? Here we had applications must be uploaded to. Be uploaded to. Why is that verb taking so long? Well, because I had passive voice in my structure here, and passive voice usually takes a one-word verb and turns it into 3 words. Here we have upload instead of be uploaded by, and that's what happens when we use active voice. We get to lose some of those fluffy words without even trying. Okay, so a couple takeaways here. We don't want to have slow lead-ins. We do want to start with whoever's most important. We don't want to delay information. We do want to have the verbs be strong and happen quick, like receive and upload. Okay, so try this out with a sentence you're working on. Put who's most important in the front, consider your verbs, and make sure you don't have a slow lead-in that delays information. If you're working on a sentence you'd like to make stronger, please send it my way. You can just type it in the comments, and we'll try to get to your sentence next. See you soon.